Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt a quiet fear that your body is aging faster than your life is moving? That something beneath your skin is slowing down, even though you're still trying your best to keep going? If that thought has ever flashed through your mind, even for a second, then what I'm about to tell you may be the most important thing you hear all year. Because despite what you've been told, your whole life aging fast is not normal, it's not unavoidable, and it's definitely not something you're powerless against. In fact, one simple shift, something you can start today, has been shown in research to reverse biological age, boost your energy, sharpen your mind, and make your body function as if it were years, sometimes decades younger. But before you think this is another trend, another miracle diet, or something that requires starving yourself or buying expensive supplements, let me stop you right there. That's the biggest misconception standing between most people and the younger, stronger body they could actually have. What I'm sharing with you today has nothing to do with extreme dieting, nothing to do with depriving yourself, and nothing to do with chasing unrealistic promises. This is about understanding one overlooked biological switch inside you, one that controls how fast you age, how deeply you heal, and how well your cells repair themselves every single day. And once you understand how this switch works, everything about your body begins to make sense. Why you feel tired, even after sleeping, why inflammation builds up so easily, why your metabolism slows down, why your skin loses its glow, and why your body sometimes feels older than the number on your driver's license. The truth is, aging doesn't start in your wrinkles or your joints. It starts deep inside your cells. And those cells are responding to signals you don't even realize you're sending. Today, we're going to unravel the science behind those signals. We're going to explore why changing when you eat can be more powerful than changing what you eat. Why your cells are waiting for specific windows of time to repair themselves, and why millions of people are now experiencing sharper memory, smoother movement, deeper sleep, and a calmer, younger feeling body simply by adjusting their daily rhythm. And I promise I'll break this down in a way that feels simple, human, and doable. No complicated jargon, no lab coat explanations. Because this video isn't just about information. It's about giving you back a sense of control over your body, your energy, and your future. And as we move forward, I want you to pay attention to one thing: how your body feels as you listen. Because if something inside you begins to say, "This makes sense. This feels right. This feels like hope," that's not an accident. That's your biology recognizing the truth. So let's take a breath together, step into this moment, and begin the journey not just to slow aging, but to quietly, powerfully reverse it. And to understand how that's even possible, we need to start with the real reason aging accelerates long before we ever notice it. The real problem, your real struggle, doesn't start with wrinkles, low energy brain fog, or that heaviness in your joints. It starts long before that, in moments so small you barely notice them. It's that quiet feeling that your body isn't bouncing back the way it used to, that tasks which once felt effortless now drain you, that your mind needs more effort just to stay sharp. Most people ignore these signs, telling themselves it's just aging, just stress, just life. But what if I told you these aren't signs of normal aging at all? They're signals, early warnings that your cells are losing their rhythm, that the timing of your biology is breaking down, and that your body is aging faster than it needs to. And here's where things get interesting, because the root of these symptoms isn't random. It isn't weakness. And it definitely isn't your fault. It's biological misalignment. Your cells operate on a schedule, a precise rhythm known as your circadian metabolic clock. When this clock is disrupted by eating too often, too late, or too frequently throughout the day, your cells get stuck in processing mode and never get the chance to shift into repair mode. Imagine running a store that never closes. The lights stay on, customers keep coming, and there's never a moment to sweep the floor, fix broken shelves, or restock the essentials. That's exactly what happens inside your cells when you eat from morning until night. Your body stays open for business, but never closes for cleaning. Researchers at the Salk Institute discovered something remarkable about this. In controlled studies, animals that ate the same food, same calories, and same nutrients, but on different schedules, showed completely opposite health outcomes. Those allowed to eat anytime gained weight, developed inflammation, showed signs of premature aging, and experienced metabolic decline. Meanwhile, those restricted to set eating windows, even with identical diets, became leaner, sharper, and biologically younger. Humans show the same pattern. In a 2022 human trial, participants who didn't change their diet at all, only their eating window improved their energy, sleep quality, insulin sensitivity, and reported that their brain felt younger, clearer, and lighter. This isn't magic, it's cellular timing. So what does this mean for you practically? It means the first step to reclaiming your energy isn't a new supplement or a strict meal plan, it's restoring your body's rhythm. Start by giving yourself a simple boundary. Stop eating 3 hours before bedtime. This single shift allows your cells to finally switch into repair mode during the hours when your body is naturally primed for restoration. If nighttime snacking has been your habit, try replacing it with herbal tea or water. You're not starving yourself, you're handing your cells the key to recovery. But there's a common trap here that I need to warn you about because almost everyone falls into it when they first try to realign their eating schedule. Many people assume that eating earlier means skipping meals or cutting calories drastically. That's not the goal at all. Undereating disrupts your metabolism just as much as overeating, and it can leave you feeling tired, foggy, and irritable. The goal isn't to eat less. The goal is to let your body rest between meals so it can repair instead of constantly breaking food down. And this brings us to something far more surprising, something most people never hear about, but absolutely need to know if they want their bodies to age more slowly instead of faster. Because just knowing that timing matters isn't enough. There's another hidden factor quietly accelerating your aging, and it's far more dangerous than you think. And if the first problem is that your body's internal rhythm has been knocked off balance, the second problem goes even deeper. It's the silent metabolic slowdown happening underneath everything you feel. Most people blame their age when they start gaining fat more easily, waking up tired or needing caffeine just to stay functional. But the truth is far simpler and far more fixable. Your metabolism isn't failing because you're getting older. It's failing because your cells are stuck in a cycle they were never designed for. To understand this, imagine your metabolism as a switch with only two positions: store energy and burn energy. When you eat frequently, especially from the moment you wake up until late at night, that switch stays stuck on store. Insulin remains elevated, glucose stays in circulation longer, and your cells never fully transition into fat burning or repair mode. Scientifically, this is called metabolic inflexibility, meaning your body loses the ability to shift between fuel sources the way it once did. And when this switch breaks down, everything that depends on metabolic health begins to unravel, from mitochondrial energy to hormonal balance to cognitive clarity. One of the clearest examples of this comes from a study published by the University of Alabama, where two groups of adults ate identical meals with the same calories, same nutrients, and same portions. The only difference, one group ate earlier in the day within a shorter window, while the others stretched their meals across 12 hours. The group with the earlier, shorter eating window experienced a dramatic improvement in insulin sensitivity, lower evening hunger, better fat burning, and reported noticeably higher energy, all without changing a single thing about what they ate. Same food, same calories, completely different metabolism. That's the power of timing. So what can you do right now to restore that metabolic switch? Start by consolidating your eating into a defined window. Not extreme fasting, not starving yourself, but simply letting your body know when it can expect fuel. For many people, a 10-hour window feels natural. Something like eating from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. gives your metabolism room to breathe. Within that window, aim for real meals instead of constant snacking. Every time you snack, you spike insulin again, forcing your body back into storage mode. Let your body settle between meals so it can tap into stored energy the way it was meant to. But here's a warning that can save you months of frustration. Timing your meals effectively does not mean compensating by overeating inside your window. Many people make the mistake of thinking, if I'm fasting longer, I should load up while I can. This disrupts digestion, spikes inflammation, and slows the metabolism even more. Your eating window is not a race. It's a rhythm one your body will reward you for honoring. But as powerful as restoring your metabolic switch is, knowing this alone still isn't enough. Because there's another hidden factor that accelerates aging even faster, and almost nobody talks about it. And once your metabolism gets stuck in storage mode, another problem begins quietly beneath the surface, one that affects every piece of your health, from your energy to your immune system to how fast your body visibly ages. It's something most people overlook, but you can actually feel it if you pay attention, that constant sense of inflammation humming inside you. Maybe it shows up as bloating, maybe as joint stiffness, maybe as waking up already tired even after a full night's sleep. That discomfort is not random. It's your body trying to tell you that the inflammatory pathways inside your cells are running nonstop, and inflammation, more than almost anything else, accelerates aging at the cellular level. Scientists now call chronic inflammation the silent fire of aging, and once you understand how it works, everything suddenly clicks. When your eating schedule is irregular, when your insulin stays elevated too long, when your mitochondria, the little engines that power your cells, get overwhelmed by constant fuel processing, your body begins producing more oxidative stress than it can neutralize. Imagine a car engine running hot all day, no brakes, no cool down. Even the strongest machine will start breaking down early. Your cells respond the same way. They become slower at producing energy, slower at repairing themselves, and slower at clearing out damaged components. That's why brain fog increases. That's why fat becomes harder to lose. That's why you feel older than your age. One of the clearest demonstrations of this comes from research conducted at the University of Copenhagen, where scientists found that simply extending fasting periods by a few hours dramatically reduced inflammatory biomarkers like CRP and IL-6. Participants reported clearer thinking, lighter digestion, and noticeably less joint pain, all without changing their diet. And that's the beauty of this approach. Your body already knows how to heal itself. It just needs space timing and a break from constant metabolic pressure. So if you want to lower inflammation in a real visible way, start by giving your body predictable cycles of rest. A powerful strategy is to anchor your meals earlier in the day when your metabolism is naturally more active. Try shifting your largest meal toward midday and leaving your evening meal lighter. This lets your inflammation naturally settle overnight instead of rising while you sleep. And if mornings are tough for you, remember, black coffee water or unsweetened tea won't break your fast. They actually support your cells while they transition into repair mode. But there's a pitfall here that almost everyone stumbles into, and you need to avoid it if you want real results. When people hear inflammation, they immediately try to fix it with supplements, turmeric pills, fish oil, collagen powders. Those may help a little, but none of them work if your eating window is chaotic. Supplements cannot override a confused circadian clock. They're boosters, not the foundation. The foundation is timing. The foundation is rhythm. The foundation is letting your cells cool down long enough to repair the damage that inflammation creates. But even understanding inflammation isn't the full picture, because the next factor is the real turning point, the moment where your body either accelerates aging or begins reversing it. And once inflammation begins to settle, something remarkable happens. Your body finally has the capacity to shift into the state that truly makes you younger at the cellular level. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Most people never reach this rejuvenation state because they unknowingly interrupt it long before it can even begin. The real issue isn't that your body can't heal, it's that it never gets the uninterrupted window it needs to activate its most powerful repair system, autophagy. Think of autophagy as your internal cleanup crew, the team responsible for sweeping out damaged proteins, misfolded cells, metabolic trash, and tiny broken mitochondria that drag your energy down. When autophagy is activated, it's like your cells suddenly turn on their night shift staff, quiet, efficient, and absolutely essential. But this deep cleaning only happens when insulin drops low enough and long enough. Even a small snack, a handful of crackers, a sip of sugary coffee, or a bite taken just because I'm bored shuts the process off instantly. A study from MIT showed that even short fasting windows, 12 to 16 hours, significantly increase autophagy activity and mitochondrial renewal. Participants described feeling lighter, clearer, and more mentally awake. That's not placebo. That's cellular housekeeping finally happening after years of being suppressed. So how do you step into this repair state intentionally? Keep your fasting window clean. Choose water, black coffee, or unsweetened tea. Avoid flavored drinks, gum, or healthy snacks that still drive insulin up. This is where most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. The goal isn't starvation, it's purity. It's giving your cells a fair chance to repair what life has worn down. But knowing how autophagy works still isn't enough because there's another factor even more dangerous. And once autophagy finally switches on and your cells begin repairing themselves, there's something else happening behind the scenes. Something most people don't even realize they're damaging every single day. It's the collapse of mitochondrial energy, the very spark that keeps every cell in your body alive. If you've ever wondered why you feel drained for no reason, why your brain slows down, or why simple tasks feel heavier than they used to, it isn't just aging. It's your mitochondria asking for help. Your mitochondria are like tiny power plants inside every cell, and they're responsible for producing the energy that fuels your muscles, your memory, your metabolism, and even your mood. But here's the problem. When you graze throughout the day, when you spike insulin repeatedly, and when inflammation stays high, your mitochondria burn dirty fuel. They leak more free radicals, produce less energy, and slowly begin to malfunction. That's why your body starts giving you subtle warnings, midday crashes, foggy mornings, cravings. You can't explain soreness that lingers longer than it should. One of the most eye-opening studies on this came from researchers at Washington University. They found that time-restricted eating didn't just improve metabolism, it actually increased mitochondrial efficiency and boosted the number of healthy new mitochondria, essentially upgrading the body's internal batteries. Participants described the change the same way. It feels like someone turned the lights back on inside me. So how do you protect these energy engines? Keep your fasting window clean, avoid snacking just because, and anchor your meals to daylight hours when your mitochondria naturally work better. But here's the mistake many people make. They try to boost their energy with sugar energy drinks or constant grazing. All that does is burn the engine even hotter and wear it out faster. But knowing this still isn't enough because there's another factor even more dangerous. And here's where everything you've heard so far comes together. Because even if your metabolism resets, inflammation lowers, autophagy activates, and your mitochondria start waking back up, there's one more layer that determines whether your body truly grows younger or quietly continues aging beneath the surface. It's something you experience every single day: stress signals. Not the emotional kind you can easily point to, but the biological stress that builds up silently when your daily rhythm is chaotic. If you've ever felt wired at night, exhausted in the morning, or hungry when you shouldn't be, that's not your willpower failing. That's your cortisol cycle breaking down. Cortisol is supposed to rise in the morning, to wake you, then gently fall as the day goes on. But when your eating window stretches too late, when you snack at night, or when your digestion is still active while you're trying to sleep, cortisol doesn't fall. It stays elevated even as your body begs for rest. High nighttime cortisol shuts down deep sleep, disrupts cellular repair, and blocks growth hormone, the hormone responsible for tissue regeneration, fat burning, and keeping your muscles strong. This is why you can follow every rule perfectly and still wake up feeling older than your age. A study from the University of California showed that people who ate after 8 p.m. had significantly higher nighttime cortisol and dramatically reduced deep sleep repair. But those who kept a clean fasting window reported better sleep, steadier mood, and a calmer nervous system without changing anything else. So if you want your body to heal at night the way it's designed to anchor your last meal earlier, dim the lights, avoid screens before bed, and let your cortisol fall naturally. The biggest mistake people make is believing they can sleep off stress while their biology is still overstimulated. But knowing this still isn't enough because there's another factor even more dangerous. And the moment your cortisol cycle becomes disrupted, another problem begins unfolding in the background, one that almost nobody ever connects to aging, yet it dictates how fast or slow your body breaks down. It's the collapse of your nighttime repair system, especially your deep sleep cycle. And if you've ever woken up feeling like you haven't slept at all, or like your body aged 5 years overnight, this is exactly why. You're not sleeping poorly because you're aging because you're sleeping poorly. Deep sleep is the only time your body releases the highest bursts of growth hormone, the hormone responsible for rebuilding tissues, improving insulin sensitivity, regenerating cells, and even clearing out waste from your brain. It's your biological reset button. But when you eat too late, snack before bed, doom scroll on your phone, or push your bedtime past your natural rhythm, your brain never drops into the deep restorative phases it depends on. Instead, it stays hovering in light sleep. Your heart rate stays elevated, and your cells wake up carrying yesterday's damage into today. One of the most powerful studies on this came from Harvard Medical School, showing that just 1 week of disrupted sleep increased biological age markers in participants' markers that only returned to normal when deep sleep was restored. People described it as the difference between surviving the day and actually feeling alive in the morning. So how do you fix this anchor, your last meal at least 3 hours before bed? Dim your lights after sunset. Keep your room cool, dark, and quiet. Let your body slip into the natural rhythm it's been begging for. The biggest mistake people make is assuming they can repair their bodies while their nightly habits are actively working against them. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous. And once your deep sleep is compromised, there's another consequence that creeps in quietly but hits your body harder than almost anything else: hormonal imbalance. And no, I'm not talking about dramatic hormone crashes or medical disorders. I'm talking about the slow, subtle drift that happens when your eating pattern, sleep cycle, and stress signals fall out of sync. If you've ever felt strangely hungry at night, exhausted in the afternoon, or craving sugar even when you know you're not truly hungry, that's your hormones sending distress signals. These shifts don't just make you uncomfortable, they age you fast. Your body relies on a delicate dance between insulin, cortisol, ghrelin, leptin, melatonin, and growth hormone. When you eat late, sleep poorly, or graze throughout the day, these hormones lose their rhythm. Cortisol spikes when it should fall. Melatonin rises too late. Insulin stays high for hours. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, fires at the wrong times, while leptin, the hormone that tells your brain you've had enough, becomes less effective. Over time, this hormonal confusion forces your body into survival mode, storing more fat, burning less energy, and repairing less damage overnight. A study from the University of Chicago showed that just 5 nights of disrupted hormonal rhythms increased hunger by 24%, cravings by 45%, and slowed metabolism by nearly 10%, even in young, healthy adults. And the worst part, most people don't even realize this is happening. They simply think they've lost discipline. So how do you fix it? Stabilize your eating window. Allow 2 to 3 hours of food-free time before bed. Keep your mornings consistent. Establish predictable rhythms so your hormones can breathe again and realign with their natural cycles. The mistake people make is assuming hormones reset on their own. They don't. You have to guide them. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous. And when your hormones begin slipping out of sync, something even more subtle and far more damaging starts to unfold. Your appetite and satiety signals no longer match what your body actually needs. This is the stage where people tell me, I don't understand why I'm hungry all the time, or I eat but I never feel satisfied. If that sounds familiar, it's not a lack of willpower. It's a biological miscommunication happening inside you. Your brain and your body aren't speaking the same language anymore. Here's why: when insulin stays elevated, when cortisol spikes at night, and when your eating window is scattered across the day, your hunger hormones fire at the wrong times. Ghrelin, the hormone that tells you you're hungry, begins rising unpredictably, while leptin, the hormone that tells your brain you're full, stops sending clear signals. This confusion leads to overeating, nighttime cravings, emotional snacking, and that frustrating cycle where you eat but never quite feel done. It's not because you're weak, it's because your hunger hormones are overwhelmed by mixed signals. One fascinating study from the University of Geneva found that consolidating meals into a consistent eating window restored leptin sensitivity in as little as 2 weeks. Participants naturally began eating less without forcing themselves to diet. They stopped craving late-night snacks, felt full on smaller portions, and described an unexpected calm around food. Their bodies quite literally found their rhythm again. So how can you realign your eating instincts with your actual needs? Start by keeping your eating window steady, same hours each day. Avoid grazing between meals, because even small snacks can reset your ghrelin curve and confuse your satiety signals. And if late-night hunger hits, drink water first. Thirst often disguises itself as hunger. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous. And once your hunger and satiety signals start drifting out of balance, there's a final layer of the problem that pushes the body into accelerated aging. And it's one that almost everyone experiences without realizing it: constant blood sugar instability. If you've ever had sudden energy crashes, mood swings, shaky hunger, or that desperate need for something sweet in the afternoon, that's not just being tired. That's your blood sugar swinging like a roller coaster, pulling your entire metabolic system down with it. Most people think blood sugar problems only belong to diabetics, but that's not true. Even mild frequent spikes caused by snacking, irregular meal timing, late-night eating, or constant grazing create tiny waves of damage in your blood vessels, your nerves, your mitochondria, and even your brain. Over time, these waves turn into storms. Your insulin stays elevated longer. Your liver stores more fat. Your cells grow resistant to signals they once understood perfectly. This is the quiet beginning of metabolic aging. A powerful study from Stanford showed that people who stabilized their eating window without changing a single type of food reduced glucose variability by up to 30%. Participants felt calmer, sharper, less hungry, and more energized throughout the day. Their cravings disappeared. Their mental clarity improved. Their mood stabilized, simply because their body stopped battling unpredictable spikes. So how do you smooth out these blood sugar waves? Begin by avoiding carbohydrates on an empty stomach. Pair carbs with protein or healthy fats. Keep your first meal balanced, not sugary. And most importantly, give your body predictable times to digest and reset, because consistency is more healing than perfection. The mistake almost everyone makes: they think fixing blood sugar requires extreme diets. It doesn't. It requires rhythm. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous. And once your blood sugar begins rising and falling like a storm, there's a deeper consequence that quietly shapes how fast your body ages: chronic oxidative stress. This is the hidden rusting that happens inside your cells, the slow internal wear and tear that steals your energy, your clarity, and your resilience. If you've ever felt older on the inside than the number on your birthday cake, this is the reason. Your cells are fighting a battle you never knew was happening. Oxidative stress happens when the waste produced from digestion, stress hormones, and inflammation builds up faster than your body can clear it. Imagine a city where garbage trucks only run half as often as they should. Trash piles up on every street, the air gets thicker, systems break down, and the whole city suffers because there's nowhere for the waste to go. Inside your body, that trash is damaged proteins, unstable molecules, and broken cell fragments. And when your eating rhythm is chaotic, when snacking becomes constant, or when meals push late into the night, your repair crews never get the chance to catch up. A study from Oxford University found that people following a time-restricted eating rhythm had significantly lower oxidative stress markers, even if they didn't change their diet. Participants reported clearer skin, sharper thinking, and steadier energy, because their cells finally had space to breathe again. So how do you reduce oxidative stress in real life? Create longer breaks between meals. Give your body those quiet hours where no digestion is happening and your internal cleanup systems can run at full power. The mistake many people make is trying to fix oxidative stress with supplements alone: vitamin C, antioxidants, green powders. But without structured meal timing, those are like trying to clean a house while people keep throwing trash on the floor. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous. And once oxidative stress starts to climb, there's another shift happening beneath the surface, one that determines how quickly every organ in your body ages. It's the gradual breakdown of your cellular communication network. Your cells rely on tiny biochemical messages to decide when to repair, when to make energy, and when to rest. But when your metabolic rhythm is disrupted, those messages become scrambled. And if you've ever felt like your body isn't listening to you anymore, your weight won't budge, your energy refuses to rise, your mood swings out of nowhere, that's not your imagination. That's your cells losing their ability to coordinate. Think of your body as a symphony. Every hormone, every enzyme, every cell type is an instrument. When they play in harmony, you feel vibrant and balanced. But when eating windows are chaotic, when sleep is irregular, and when inflammation is high, the instruments fall out of tune. Insulin shouts when it should whisper. Growth hormone appears too late. Melatonin signals confusion. Your cellular symphony turns into noise. and noise is the birthplace of aging. A remarkable study from the National Institutes of Health found that people who consolidated their meals into consistent time windows improved gene expression in pathways related to circadian rhythm, energy production, and cellular repair. In simple terms, their cells started communicating clearly again. They didn't just feel younger on a molecular level, they were younger. So how do you restore this communication network? Start with consistency. Same eating window each day, same sleep schedule, lower evening light. Your cells thrive on predictability, not perfection. The mistake people make is thinking that health comes from intensity. It doesn't. It comes from rhythm. But knowing this still isn't enough because there's another factor even more dangerous. And once your cellular communication starts breaking down, something even more fundamental begins to shift the way your DNA expresses itself. Most people think aging is written in their genes, as if their destiny is sealed by whatever they inherited. But the truth is far more empowering. The real driver of accelerated aging isn't the DNA you were born with. It's the switches that turn your genes on or off every single day. And if you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, why do I look older this year? Or why does my body feel different? So suddenly that's epigenetics speaking. Epigenetics is the science of how your lifestyle, your rhythm, your inflammation levels, and even your eating schedule tell your genes what to do. Your DNA is the script, but epigenetics is the director. And when your circadian rhythm is disrupted, when oxidative stress is high, and when blood sugar spikes frequently, the director starts choosing scenes that accelerate aging instead of slowing it. Repair genes turn off, stress response genes turn on, and your biological age climbs even if your chronological age doesn't. A landmark study published in Cell Metabolism showed that time-restricted eating improved gene expression in pathways linked to longevity, mitochondrial health, and cellular repair. Participants didn't just feel younger, their epigenetic markers literally shifted toward youth. That means your body can rewrite its biological story at any age. So how do you take control of this genetic light switch? Consistency, rhythm, predictable windows of eating and fasting, moments of metabolic rest where your genes receive a clear message: repair, don't decline. The biggest mistake people make is believing they're trapped by genetics. You're not. You influence your genes with every choice you make. But knowing this still isn't enough because there's another factor even more dangerous. When you bring all these pieces together, steady meal timing, calmer hormones, cleaner cellular repair, balanced blood sugar, and a rhythm your body can finally trust, you're not just improving your health. You're slowing your biological clock and giving your body the chance to feel strong, clear, and energized again. These benefits aren't abstract. You'll feel them in the way you wake up, the way you move, and the way you live. And here's the part I want you to hold on to. You are not too old, too late, or too far gone to change your story. Your body is always listening, always adapting, always ready to heal when you give it the right signals. No matter where you are in your journey, you can steer your life toward more vitality, more stability, and more years lived with strength rather than struggle. There is always hope, and the science is finally proving it. If this video opened your eyes or gave you even one tool you can start applying, today make sure you like the video, save it, so you can re-watch the steps and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the newest medical insights designed to protect your long-term health. And please share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them, and your stories matter. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself, treat your body with kindness, and remember, every small decision you make is a step toward a younger, healthier you.